Once again, you're watching E&G Spanish. Hey everyone, it's E from E&G Spanish Tutorials. Today we have two mini lessons going over some pretty basic stuff that you should know up to this point. We're going to combine them together to make hopefully one medium-sized lecture that's not too confusing. First, we're going to go over how to make singular nouns into plural nouns. For example, in English, we have the word book. How do we make it plural? We attach an S, books. We have marker. All we do is add an S, markers. Now we're going to be able to do that in Spanish. The second lecture is going to go over gender. So like I said, these are two pretty basic things. Hopefully this doesn't confuse you. So let's get started. We have three pretty basic rules to make a singular noun into a plural noun. Our first rule, if our word ends with a vowel, all we do is add an S. So for example, the word day, dia. It ends in a vowel, all we do is add an S. Días. Another example. The word for sister is hermana. How do we make this plural? It ends in a vowel. Our rules say you just add an S. Hermanas. Easy enough, right? Our second rule is, if the word ends with a consonant other than the letter Z, all we do except Z, all we do is add ES. Instead of just S, now we have ES. So for example, the word for city is ciudad. It ends in a consonant and it's not a Z. Our rules say we add ES. Ciudades. And our final rule for singular to plural nouns is if it ends with a Z, first what you do is change the Z to a C and then add ES at the end of it. So your rule 3, the end, looks exactly like your rule 2, the end. The only difference is we're changing the Z to a C. So for example, the word pencil, lápiz. How do we say pencils? Our rules say change the Z to a C. Let's do that first. And then add ES. Lápices. Lápices. The word feliz. Happy. Our rules say change the Z to a C and then add our ES. Felices. Felices. That's it for this lesson. Spanish has gender unlike English. So for example, el lápiz versus la televisión. Now, it might be kind of confusing to memorize el or la with every single word, but there's got to be a few shortcuts that we can memorize to aid us in choosing which gender it might be. Well, there are. There are 4 little things to remember when determining gender, or when trying to guess gender. Usually, if it ends with an A, it's probably going to be feminine. There are some exceptions, which I'm about to go over in a little bit. These exceptions you just have to remember on your own. So for example, we have el día, the day. It ends with an A, however it's still masculine. I'm not exactly 100% sure why it's masculine. I'm sure there's some word origin reason or something, but there's that. El día. Another example is the father. El papá. It ends in an A. This one is more of a context reason. What does el papá mean? Well, it means the father. Chances are the father, this male figure, is not going to be feminine. Let's do another word. What about el mapa, the map? It ends in an A. What about el problema, the problem? They both end in an A. But sometimes, P-A-M-A, things that end in ma, pa, and ta are usually, depending on the origin of the word, masculine. Not 100%, so don't Just because it ends in one of these three things, don't assume it's going to be masculine. Another little helpful tip. If it ends in an O, it's probably going to be masculine. Of course, there are some exceptions. The word for hand is la mano. Once again, there are probably some origin-related words to this, but we're not going to get into too much detail. La mano. There's words like la foto and la moto. They both end in O. Now the reason these are feminine is a little bit more logical. This whole word is actually la fotografía, the photograph. La fotografía, which ends in an A, so it's going to be feminine. La moto, the motorcycle, is originally la motocicleta. The full word ends in an A. That's why it's la and not el. But like I said, usually just repetition of exposure to words, exceptions like these that you just saw, usually helps more than trying to remember minute rules and stuff. Another little tip, words that end in C-I-O-N with an accent on the O and S-I-O-N are usually feminine. For example, we have la televisión. Notice it has the S-I-O-N with an accent. It's feminine. We have the word for song. La canción. C-I-O-N. It's still feminine. The final little tip to guessing a gender, if you had to, is if it ends in D-A-D or T-A-D. These are usually feminine. For example, the word for city. Ciudad. There's your D-A-D. It's probably going to be la, and it is la. La ciudad. What about the university? La universidad. Once again, D-A-D, it is feminine. Okay, so let's review. Gender. Here are some tips to help you remember gender. If it ends with an A, it's usually feminine. We did have some exceptions, but don't focus on those too much. If it ends with an O, it's probably masculine. If it ends with sion, with a C or an S, it's probably feminine. Finally, if it ends with dad or tad, it's probably feminine also. That's going to conclude it for this lesson. Thanks for watching.